Darkstalkers. Even just saying the name brings back good memories. But what is it about this series that makes me love it? Welcome to a more personal retrospective show where I discuss games that have made a big impact. It's not exactly an encyclopedic retrospective, but some facts may get thrown out there, as well as personal stories as we recall how we came to love some of our favorite series. Welcome to New Game Plus. When I was selecting games to cover for this series, I knew I had to start with Darkstalkers, or Vampire for everyone outside of North America. This series is responsible for kickstarting my love for fighting games. For those of you who have been on this channel for a while, you may assume that game might have been Street Fighter, but that's not the case. I wouldn't discover Street Fighter until years later. Now before I go any further, let me explain some facts about the series, mostly because Darkstalkers is relatively obscure as far as Capcom fighters go, and the series has been dormant for more than 10 years, aside from the compilation release in 2014. I can't tell you how many times I tried to talk to one of my friends about the series, only to be met with a blank stare. So get comfortable and get ready to learn a thing or two. Darkstalkers was created by Alex Jimenez and was published by Capcom. The game was first released in arcades in 1994 and was later released on consoles in 1996 under the name Vampire in Japan, which was changed to Darkstalkers when the game was localized to America. The game incorporated the same combat system that was developed for Street Fighter II, but sported notable upgrades such as air blocking, crouch walking, and a special meter that unleashed a beefed up special move of your choosing when it was filled. Now all of these mechanics would ironically find their way back to the Street Fighter series where they would be vastly expanded upon, but Darkstalkers did it first. The game cast supported 10 playable characters, which included Morgan, a succubus from Scotland, Dimitri, a vampire from Romania, John Talbane, or Galen in Japan, a martial artist turned werewolf from England, Felicia, a catwoman from the United States, Victor, a Frankenstein monster from Germany, Rikuo, or Albath in Japan, a merman from Brazil, Lord Raptor, or Zabelza Rock in Japan, an undead rocker from Australia, Anakaris, a mummy from Egypt, Bishamon, a man who wears a cursed armor set from Japan, Sasquatch, a Bigfoot from Canada, and finally, the two unplayable bosses, Huitzil, or Phobos in Japan, a robot from Mexico, and Pyron, an alien from the planet Hellstorm, the game's final boss. Darkstalkers is genuinely a very interesting series to me, both for the cartoonish art style and colorful cast of characters, as well as the way it seamlessly blends horror, gore, and humor into its presentation. The art of the game is simply beautiful, thanks to the director Akira Yatsuda and many of the game's artists that worked in this game, including Bangus, whose work we've seen as soon as Street Fighter V. They were able to make sprites like nothing we've ever seen at the time, both in quality and the way they animated. Even to this day, I struggle to find characters who emote as good as these sprites. I love all the little touches sprinkled all over this game, such as the character portraits being animated in the character select screen, with the sprites bursting into flames when they get hit by Dimitri's fireballs, or being transformed by a curse attack by Anakaris. These little details also carry over into the stages, like a dancing dog in Bishamon's stage, or the spirit of Dr. Frankenstein flying around and throwing confetti after you win a match. Now thinking about it, all these stages have nice little animations when you win a round. That's always a nice touch. I'm always entertained whenever I boot up any of the games or look through my art books, or even read the crossover comics that they had with Street Fighter recently. This game series has constantly remained in my mind throughout the years, for a good reason. It's a great game that wasn't afraid to let its personality shine through its great design and goofy animations. Now since this game came out in 1994, I didn't play it right away. That would have been impossible. I was 1 year old when this game released. Actually, this wasn't even the first Darkstalkers game I played. That honor goes to Darkstalkers 2, but since we're going in order, let's start from the first game. But don't worry, we'll get back to this story in another video. First time I played the first Darkstalkers game was when I was around 10 or 11 years old with my best friend Vincent. His uncle had come to visit him from Texas and left him a binder full of PlayStation 1 games that included games like Soul Reaver, Twisted Metal 3, that god-awful Evil Dead game Hell to the King, a few WWE games, and Darkstalkers. Now, to be honest, when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was, because when I first played Darkstalkers 2, it was in Mexico on one of those bootleg arcade machines, and the machine didn't have a title either, so that didn't help things. Plus, I was like 7 or 8, but the moment I saw a werewolf swinging nunchucks around, I was sold. The second I played, I was in love. I played it every time I went to his house. We would spend hours button mashing against each other and trying to beat the arcade mode, but I was managing to come up short against the game's 2 bosses. This was before I started playing fighting games seriously, so we had no idea what we were doing. We could barely get through the first few stages in the arcade ladder before getting our asses handed to us. But we found a way. No, I don't mean we got better, I mean, we cheated. So yeah, it turns out that if you had a second player press start and select the character you were having trouble with and beat them, it would count as if you defeated them in the arcade mode. Seeing as we both had little brothers that were watching us play and were eager to hop into the action, all we did was hand them a controller and easily beat them, and before we knew it, we were moving right along the arcade mode with the greatest of ease. Until we ran into Hutsuil and he quickly stomped our faces in. Seriously, this guy was our childhood nightmare. It took us days and multiple attempts of trying our best and getting our asses handed to us before we would get mad and just go outside to play. But one day, we got him. We finally beat him. We were so excited as we fearlessly moved on to the final boss. And it turns out that he was even harder and quickly handed our asses to us. Now, Futzel's difficulty hasn't aged well, and I managed to beat him on my first try while recording this video. But Pyron is the real deal. He attacked so fast and teleported everywhere, and to make things worse, he would read your inputs and snuff out your attacks. He was a fighting game boss from the 90s after all. A source of pain and suffering decided to make you get good while taking your quarters at the same time. But after dying over and over and over and over again, we finally got him. It may have been out of pure dumb luck, but we did it. We felt invincible. Like we could do anything. You have to believe me when I say nothing felt better at the time than seeing those ending credits. After our journey with the game, we played it a bit more throughout the summer that year, until my friend got tired of it and just gave me his copy. It was then that I took it home and somehow managed to beat the game enough times to see every ending. After that, I kind of put it away and forgot about it, seeing as my friend moved away, and later on that year I got a PS2. But it's times like this that fuel my fire for Darkstalkers and fighting games in general. It gave me memories that will last a lifetime, on top of being a truly enjoyable experience that cannot be replicated. Darkstalkers did receive a few sequels and re-releases, but I'll save that topic for another video. This series isn't always going to be about fighting games, and it won't always be me narrating them. I'm going to try and get some guests on here to share their stories, to give this show a bit of variety. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this little trip back. I'd like to thank Froggy with Fries for editing this video. Please go check out his work and his channel, and please support his Patreon. And last but not least, please check out this channel's Patreon. It helps us get better equipment and just helps us put these videos out faster. Your support is greatly valued. We just can't thank you enough. This has been Adolfo with Zero Frame Gaming, and I'll see you next time.